What's up, party people, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're testing out that viral foundation hack from TikTok, which is basically applying all of your face makeup in the complete wrong order. So basically it's your skincare products, so moisturizers and all that stuff, and then setting powder, setting spray, facial primer, and then your face makeup. Apparently it's supposed to be really good for oily skin. It's supposed to give you fuller coverage, make your makeup last longer, make your skin more poreless and flawless and airbrushed, and just all kinds of good things. I've seen so many comments of people saying this is a game changer. So I did watch a few videos just to make sure that my understanding of it was accurate, because I do not have TikTok. I can't do it. But I am going to do this a bit differently, because the majority of videos I watched did their entire face in this technique, which makes no sense to me, because I want to see, what does your normal routine look like by the end of the day? Like, do you usually look oily? Do you usually look cakey? Do your pores usually look like the moon's craters? Like, I need a side-by-side visual. So yeah, on one side I'm gonna do this hack, and on the other side I'm gonna do my normal routine, and I'm gonna do a wear test as well, and we're gonna try and make it as long as possible. I'm gonna try to go even above an 8-hour wear test, because I really want to see, you know, is this worth doing? Because it kind of seems like it's a little time consuming. I do want to go ahead and say that I have oily skin. There's been a lot of videos that I watch where people don't even mention their skin type, so you don't know who it's gonna be best for. But before we get into this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up just to show me some support. If you end up not liking the video by the end, you can go ahead and take it back. You can be an Indian giver. But for now, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and turn that notification bell on to always see my videos. And without further ado, let's test out the viral TikTok makeup hack. So fingers crossed. So all I've done up to this point is apply a toner. I wiped my face down, wiped off the fallout, residue, all that stuff, and I sprayed a rose water toner on top just for some added hydration. So now I'm gonna go into my moisturizing sunscreen. Typically though, I don't get super shiny in my T-zone. Like, I'm not a super oily person. I'm actually pretty balanced. All right, so I've sat here for about 5 minutes, so everything's had time to absorb. So I'm gonna leave this side alone. So this is gonna be on my normal side. So now you're supposed to set your moisturizer with a loose powder. So she says to do a very, very light amount. So we're just gonna go into some translucent loose powder. And I'm not really showing you like what I'm using or anything, just because it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever you have. I'm not gonna apply too much. I'm really gonna focus it on my T-zone. But like I said, I don't usually get super shiny. I mean, with super glowy foundations and stuff, I can, or with foundations that just don't work for my skin. But normally, I don't have a big problem. If I wear my makeup for a long time, like if I wear my makeup for like 10 to 12 hours or more, then yeah, I can have a bit of an issue. But from my understanding, what this is supposed to do is basically start absorbing the oil before it even comes. So it's kind of like acting like a wall, like a barrier for your foundation. It's kind of like it's blocking the oil before it gets to your foundation, is my understanding of it. So yeah, there's what the setting powder side looks like. So now you're supposed to go into a setting spray and set your setting powder. So I'm gonna cover up this side and set this. I'm also not putting her video in my video to show you what's happening, just because I've heard of some people getting copyright strikes because of doing that. So we're not gonna mess with that territory. Okay, so now that that's dried, I'm gonna go into my primer now. And this is what worries me, because you're not supposed to sandwich liquids and powders. Like, you're supposed to do all of your liquids and creams first and then your powders, because it can get cake face real fast. So this is kind of going against everything I've ever known. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of primer. I don't usually use primer, but we are today. By the way, I am gonna use all these products on the other side as well, just not in this order, obviously. But I just wanna make sure we're using the same products on both sides, just to really see if changing the order makes a big difference. I'm not gonna use my face primer on this side though, just because that's not what I normally do. I usually just go straight into foundation after my moisturizers. We're just looking matte, like nothing's looking cakey or anything right now. So at this point, we're just looking matte. So for foundation, I'm gonna go into the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow. And typically I get about 8 hours of wear before it starts making me look a little bit shiny in my T-zone. So we're gonna see if this hack changes that. And I'm gonna go ahead and start applying some on the other side as well, because we're caught up now to where we can start applying our foundation on the normal side as well. So this is also supposed to give you fuller coverage, where that setting powder is acting like a barrier. It's supposed to just make the pigment stick better. And because we have that setting powder underneath, it's supposed to help you avoid putting a lot of powder on top. So we'll see if we can do that as well. Okay, so now let's move on to the other side. I just want to see if there's a coverage difference. Usually I get about medium coverage out of this, and I do like to build it up. So I'm gonna go in a little bit on this side and build it up. I feel like I did get slightly better coverage on the Technique side. Okay, so I'm gonna build it up just a little bit on this side, just because I can still see some of my hyperpigmentation on my cheek area. So Yeah, let's just try to build that up. All right, so here's each side. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the time just because it's kind of late in the day, and yeah, I'm off to a very late start. So it is now 2:02, so we'll say 2 o'clock for our check-in time. But as far as my pores and stuff go, they look the exact same on both sides. I still have a glowy finish on my right side where I did the foundation hack, so I'm not really seeing the biggest difference yet. Now, I may see a difference as the day goes on and I wear it longer. A lot of people have said that with this technique, they don't need a lot of setting powder on top, if any at all, but both sides still feel very tacky and very transferable. Like it feels like it normally does before setting powder, so I can anticipate I'm going to need some setting powder. So from here on out, everything is pretty normal. So I'm going to do my concealer and stuff. And I think I'm going to do a lot of cream products today because I really want to test and see if that setting powder and setting spray and all that stuff underneath really prolongs the wear of like cream products, because I feel like that's where I have the biggest wear issues sometimes. Not all the time, but a lot of times I can get greasy and shiny from cream products. So I'm gonna use a cream bronzer, cream highlight, and cream blush. Okay, so now to go ahead and set my face, I'm gonna use that same translucent setting powder that I used to set my moisturizer, because yeah, it's not looking any less tacky, so I definitely need some setting powder. Okay, so after setting powder, I did go ahead and finish up my lower lash line and put some lips on. So now it's time for setting spray as normal. And again, I'm using the same setting spray I used earlier. All right, so I've zoomed you guys in as close as I possibly can, and I have very, very minimal artificial lighting. Most of my lighting's coming from my window, so what you see is what you get. So again, this is the hack side, and this is the normal side. There are a couple of differences I see, but I don't know if it's worth doing everything out of order. So on the hack side, I do feel like my pores do look a tad bit smaller, and just my skin looks a tad bit more blurred, but not drastically. As far as the coverage aspect goes with the foundation, I feel like it was about the same. Like it may have gripped and gave me a little bit more full coverage on the hack side, but not really that big of a difference compared to the normal side. I feel like the biggest difference that I see is that this side just overall looks more unified and smoother. It kind of reminds me of that Wayne Goss technique where he takes a setting powder, like after he's done everything, he says to take a setting powder and just buff over literally your entire face, like over the blush or the bronzer, everything. It looks like I did that. And by the way, I didn't use any kind of setting powder on my cheek area. Like I just did around my cheeks. So let's do a little live facial rotation. So here is the hack side, and then here is the normal side. So yeah, the normal side just looks a tad bit more glassy and dewy, whereas this side, I mean, it still looks pretty dewy, but just a tad bit more mattified and balanced, I guess you could say. So yeah, at this point, I'm not really seeing the biggest difference. And again, I may see the biggest difference when it comes to wear. That's probably how it's gonna be. It may wear better, it may wear worse. We don't really know. My skin does look really good. I mean, I'm having a good makeup day, but I usually do have a pretty good makeup day with this foundation, so not really sure who's to blame for that. But I do feel like this is gonna be better for people with oily skin. I feel like if you have dry skin, you need to avoid as much powder as possible. So wouldn't recommend it for dry skin, but if you're super, super oily, then this could be the trick. Or if you're super oily and you want to wear a glowy foundation, this could be a way to make glowy foundations work better for you. Alrighty guys, it's time to do our final check-in of the day. So I'm gonna have to be quiet because my husband's asleep right now, so just bear with me because it's gonna be kind of a quiet outro. But it's now 10:30 p.m. So we just hit the 8.5 hour mark, and my plan was to do like a 12 or 14 hour wear test and really make this a super long wear day, but kind of started this a little bit too late, so that's my bad. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and call it quits here because I don't really see it doing much more from here on out, except probably getting worse. I expected the hack side to wear so much better, but I don't know if you can see, but I'm pretty shiny on both sides. And this started pretty early on. Like this started like around the 3 or 4 hour mark. I started getting kind of shiny in my T-zone. Now I will say it could be because of the setting spray that I use, because the setting spray that I use I'm not super familiar with. It is a mattifying setting spray, so like the other times I've used it I have liked it, so that's why I used it today, but it wasn't like a go-to spray for me, so probably a mistake on my part. Overall my skin does look more smooth on the hack side. It just looks more seamless and I don't know, just more unified still. I'd mentioned that earlier. And also my cheek products did hold up better, surprisingly. I mean, on both sides they're not going super strong or anything, so kind of disappointed in that. But yeah, on the normal side I can see my hyperpigmentation and acne spots peeking through, which means that everything's faded. Yeah, I see oil buildup in the crevices of my nose on each side. I see a lot of oil and shine coming through on my chin, and also like my chin looks very red. Yeah, I'm kind of, I'm a little disappointed. I would like to try this with like powder cheek products and then also a different foundation, like maybe a more matte foundation, to see if putting your setting powder and whatnot underneath it would make it look, you know, super cakey and dry. I'd like to test it with a new setting spray, obviously, and I'd also like to test it with powder cheek products, because once again, you're kind of getting into the territory of a lot of powder, and that's where my fears would come in, to be like, okay, this is like too much powder, is gonna make me look cakey. If you guys have tried this, let me know how it's worked for you. Has it been a game changer for you? Has it completely changed your routine? I mean, based on how it looks right now, this isn't worth it to me. Like, this isn't worth changing up my order of operation for this little amount of difference. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and let me know if there's any other TikTok hacks you'd like to see me test out in a video, and you know, see like a wear test or something. So yeah, comment below if there's anything you'd like to see me experiment with, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I will see you guys in my next one.